Good morning or evening or afternoon or wherever you are. It's Mary Jo. I am coming at you live to talk a little bit today about using inspirational leadership as a way of getting noticed and promoted and advancing your career. Um, it sounds counterintuitive, also, that you think that you have to be in some grand position of leadership before you become an inspirational leader. I'm going to tell you, great way to advance your career is to display leadership skills. Just like it takes money to make money, if you show that you're a leader, you will get leadership opportunities. Um, so I'm going to just hang out for a minute and see if anyone joins us live. In the meantime, I'll waste my time with you telling you that Chicago spring can bite it. I am so sick of the lack of spring we have. It was like 50 2 days ago, rainy, ugly, cold, wearing a sweatshirt, and today is going to be 88. And that's pretty much how it is from now on. And I just want a spring. I just want to go back to Virginia and live there for like just spring, have 6 weeks maybe of weather in the 60s and 70s that it's not pouring constantly. It would be so lovely. I miss that. I miss it so much. But hey, at least now we get to go outside and rather than freeze our yitsies off, we can roast them off. So I've got that going for me, which is nice. So let's jump in and talk a little bit about how you use inspirational leadership to your advantage in your career to get noticed and get promoted. I do want to thank everyone. I talked last week about the 6 characteristics of inspirational leaders, and I got a lot of good feedback through messages, talking to a few colleagues and friends about what they thought of it and just kind of how that all works. So, thank you for anyone who did reach out or that I've been talking to for other reasons and giving me your feedback. If you have any feedback on any of that, still working towards something fun that I will be talking about probably Thursday. Um, that a lot of this that we're talking about will be wrapped up into also. So if you're ready to get your leadership boost, I will talk about that in detail on Thursday. But today I want to talk about a little bit about an area that we will cover in this new workshop, as well as that I cover in all of my programs. Um, and I've talked in the past a lot about inspirational leadership. This is really where I focus my time and my energy in coaching my clients. Is that it's everyone has abilities to become a leader, to become a strong leader, but the most effective are those that are inspirational leaders. And you don't have to be this innate, amazing leader to be an inspirational leader. You can really leverage your own strengths, learn what it takes, and then figure out how that all molds together. Because ultimately, inspirational leaders get results. You're motivating people to action, you're inspiring people to do something, anything that will accomplish the vision that you're setting for them. Um, and because you get results, you get noticed. So you may be feeling right now unsure of yourself, a little overwhelmed or stressed and exhausted by trying to navigate how to be a strong leader, how to get to the point of being an inspirational leader, and maybe you're just not getting what you want right now. So today I'm going to talk about how you do get what you want, how you use inspirational leadership to get what you want. So I've also mentioned in the past, I'm been leading teams, been leading groups for 20 years in engineering, IT, utilities, local and federal government, and really always focus on serving people to better their place, whether that be their life when I worked at the township and trying to bring social services to people in need, or now coaching, working with people so they can advance their careers, they can become stronger leaders, and they can get whatever it is that they want and envision accomplished. So what I really want to do next is offer a workshop, something more condensed and small, that will give you a little bit of a taste and a peek into the inspirational leadership workshop, or sorry, accelerator that I've been working on, which is a longer 12-week program. going to give you a little boost instead of this long accelerator. I was actually emailing a couple people today, and if you think of the accelerator as a carefully crafted cocktail that takes time and energy to put it all together, make it taste perfect, and you slowly sip on it, and you take little bits and little bites and little bits and little bits, and it changes as you drink it, and it's this long experience, right? The Leadership Boost, the workshop, is going to be chugging a Red Bull, really propel you and give you a good kick in the butt down that path. So it's a little peek into what we do in the accelerator. It's not going to be the whole thing. It's going to be a little bit of the model, a little bit of the energy, a little bit of the learning. So you can kind of see what that it's like. So when you're able and willing to make that investment in yourself, that time commitment, whatever it takes, whatever's holding you back right now, you'll kind of know what you're going to get. You'll know what to expect. So let's talk a little bit about how that kick in the pants that will propel you down that path of leadership gets you noticed. So one of the things I think that's really important is when you are able to be an inspirational leader, there are three things that are going to come out of it. And this is what I'm going to teach. This is what my coaching model is. Okay, so here's the model. Here's all the exciting stuff. Giving you insight into what I do behind the scenes. So first, when you finish one of my programs, you're going to be able to lead with confidence and ease. Second, you'll build a highly cohesive and productive team. And last is that you will inspire action and results. Three pieces, right? Lead with confidence and ease, build a highly productive and cohesive team, inspire action and results. Those are the three chunks of my coaching model. Everything I do is based on this model, and you may get different pieces of it depending on how you work with me. But even the Leadership Boost is going to be built on this model. So what happens when you actually use this model, implement it? This enables you to exceed your goals and performance commitments. You're going to have this high functioning team that will just be rocking their metrics, making you look good. You'll be held in a different esteem by your team. You will be so oozing confidence that people have to notice what you're doing. You get results when you do this. The second phase of this is that you grow your productivity, your profitability, however your team functions. If you're creating widgets, if you're consulting, if whatever your mechanism of making money is in your organization, or maybe you're a nonprofit and it's not focused on profit, it's focused on bringing in revenue, being able to support your mission, and how you interact with your clients in your nonprofit space. So all of this grows to new levels when you're using this model. And then the last result of that is you excel in your career. If you are nailing your goals, going above and beyond, your team is rocking it, they're super productive, you're super productive, and you are profitable, revenue generating, killing it, how can you not get noticed and promoted? How can that not benefit you in your career? How can you not be on the path to executive leadership? Sounds super fluffy. I get it. So let's talk a little bit about my model again and how those results come into play. So leading with confidence and ease, what that really brings you is this presence in your leadership style that there's no doubt that you're in charge and you're making stuff happen. It takes you from a place of maybe some uncertainty, maybe some overwhelm right now, which your team feels, your bosses feel that energy. Mm-hmm. What this does, learning how to lead with confidence and ease, is take you from that place of more uncertainty to magnetism, that you will be drawing people in because you'll be empowering them. You'll be so confident in what you do and how you direct and the vision that you set that you'll be drawing people to you, which is a very different experience as a leader and a result that, again, gets you all of your metrics, all of your goals crushed and gets you noticed. Building a cohesive team. So a lot of what I do in the team building part of my coaching practice and consulting is built upon a book by Patrick Lencioni called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And there is a whole program that's been created around it called the 5 Behaviors of a Cohesive Team. So what does it mean to have a cohesive team? I mean, it sounds not like something people talk extensively about, right? When you talk about team building, you're either doing trust falls and climbing up walls, or, rah, 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 doing icebreakers, or you're talking about just productivity, productivity, productivity. There's this in-between place. You have to get everyone working as a set of really well-oiled gears that intertwine really well and have a common goal that they're crushing. So a cohesive team is one that collaborates, one that is looking out for the needs and the goals of the team before their own. And I know I'm talking about how you get promoted and how you excel as a leader, right? It doesn't mean that you're selfish or self-centered where your team has to be collaborative. You are doing all of this, but you have needs, you have wants, you want to excel. And the only way that you meet some of these really huge visions and goals you have for yourself of being at an executive level, of being at a higher level, having your own company, doing something like that is getting noticed and getting ahead so that you can make a bigger and bigger impact. So I'm not talking about this in a selfish way at all. I'm talking about this in the same way that your team is cohesive. You are cohesive with your number one team, whether that be your similarly situated, on your level. Maybe your first team is really your boss because of how you're positioned, whatever that may be. You're equally cohesive and collaborative in all of this. But you get noticed, you get promoted, and you make a bigger impact. So cohesiveness, very much. Actually just saw a really amazing special my husband and my middle child have been watching on Disney Channel. And it's hosted by Will Smith, and it's all about different aspects of nature. They have one full episode on the swarm and the nature of all living beings to find ways that they engage, interact together for the common good. So they had a couple of really cool examples, and I'll look up the name of it and put it in the chat because it was so cool. So they have this specific type of bee that lives in Africa, and they're huge. Like if I saw one in person, I would probably be screaming and crying. But they kind of like all have kind of live on this cliff. And the amazing thing is if you get into their bubble, like they don't care if you're near them, but as soon as you get into their bubble, they start to, everybody goes, and there's this amazing swarm mentality. They're not taught this. They're not, doing it off anything but instinctual to protect themselves. But it's great against predators because the whole swarm does it, and it's this ripple down the entire cliff of bees that scares away predators. And it was an amazing example of swarm. You think of swarm as like a group of birds maybe, or a bunch of fish that, those silverfish that kind of move all together, that they make fun of in Nemo for having like pointing and making symbols. But another great example was wildebeest and crossing a river. One wildebeest goes out there, nobody follows. There's this critical mass that starts to move in the same direction and takes 3 or 4 to start going into the river. And they show actually one that just got all brave, went out by himself, brave or stupid, not sure which, and he got really quickly attacked by an alligator or croc. But as soon as there's kind of an energy, the wildebeest just know, like from miles away, now it's time to cross the river. And just thousands in this herd go rushing across the river. A few still get eaten by crocs, but it's about this swarm. And can you imagine the power if your team started to kind of trickle into that common goal, that common vision, and then just attacked it in the same way and just rushed at it in the same way? That's cohesive. That's having that singular mission, singular vision, singular mission that they're working towards. and all of them are just crushing at it. That's what cohesive is for your team. That's what we work on developing and giving you the tools to develop in all my coaching work. So we talk confidence and ease as a leader, building a cohesive team, and then inspiring action and results. This is what ultimately moves you forward. Even a cohesive team, if they don't have an inspirational motivation, if there's not this vision of utopia out there, they're not going to be crushing goals in the same way. So this is where you inspire your team to act and get results. When you bring the first two, this becomes much easier to do. You'll get noticed, you'll get promoted, and you get shit done when you combine these three. So the cool part about this is I've really worked to do this in a way so that it doesn't take anything extra from you. This isn't changing your whole personality, changing how you do everything. It's not meant to be super costly or have a whole bunch of stuff that you have to buy and do and whatever. All of my work we do with your own strengths, leveraging what's inside of you already, because I believe in building upon yourself and what you're good at in order to become an inspirational leader, tailoring it to what you want to be. So it's your strengths, the team you have. What I teach is really applicable to any team. It can be any group of people that you are leading. We can get there. And then the resources available to you. Beyond participating in the workshop or paying for coaching, you don't need to invest in anything else. I'm not telling you you need all these tools. I'm not telling you, excuse me, totally have to cough again. But you can do this without extra budget equipment, software, all sorts of crazy things. The idea is that this is just working with what's in you, giving you the resources you need, the learning that you need to be successful. So when I talk about working with the team you have, one of my favorite examples of a huge turnaround in a team, and I've written about this before, but I haven't talked about it, is in 2005, I think everyone knows, especially in my network, that there was this massive hurricane that just attacked the Gulf Coast, and it was unprecedented damage from Hurricane Katrina. And FEMA, in response, set up several call centers to intake disaster applicants because it exceeded like our normal capacity for disasters. And I was in a call center here in Chicago responding to Hurricane Katrina. I was managing their contract. So we had a staff of 500 people who were hired in the span of a week. It's interesting when you hire 500 people in a week. And through a temp agency. So I had no direct authority to tell anybody on the floor what to do. I could only work with the contract representative from the temp agency, and then he would communicate those things down. And we had a really rough go at the beginning. It was a lot of people who had been unemployed. They targeted neighborhoods and put up flyers where there was really high unemployment in Chicago. So we had a really interesting group of people show up. We had people who had call center experience, who were just amazing. We had people who had never worked in an office environment before. We had people who eventually had to be let go because their fingerprints came back as not suitable for federal employment. There's lots of interesting things that came out of this. But it was a very large team. So you're going to have a lot of trouble bringing everyone together and being cohesive. So we struggled in the beginning with performance. Like something as basic as the timesheets they gave me that for us to reimburse was like, this is a disaster. Let's try again. And I was told by the contract officer, just give it back to them, make them redo it. And it's like, well, that's not going to get us anywhere. So we had a little sit down and we had a long talk about how are we going to turn around performance. We already had the powers that be kind of threatening to shut us down. They were ramping down the number of calls we were taking because we had such problems getting everything done in a really efficient way, let alone really precise. And when you're dealing with disaster survivors, you want it to be right. You don't want to mess with them. They've been through enough already. You want this to go really well. So we talked about that. We talked about the survivors. We talked about the people we were serving. And that became the message to all the leadership of the temp agency, as well as the message that they then communicated to their people. And things started to turn around. We had a common vision. We worked towards making sure disaster survivors got the help they needed to get back on their feet. Something so simple in message, but really powerful because everybody had seen the pictures. Everybody. We made it about the survivors. We still had lots of crazy going on. And after a couple of weeks, some of that righted itself. Like I said, some of the people whose fingerprints came back unsuitable were dismissed. We had some people who just kind of self-select out because this was too big for them. Again, that's going to happen in teams when you're trying to really work towards this inspirational mission. But we stopped making it about taking phone calls and making it about serving disaster victims. And I'm super proud of the results we ended up getting. We were selected by the Federal Executive Board in Chicago for an award for the team effort because the first week while we were standing up the temp contract, we had a bunch of volunteers from the federal world come in and from all these other agencies in Chicago came in and helped, which was amazing. And we turned around our performance to the point that not only were we the top producing call center of all of the newly contracted call centers like us, as opposed to like the FEMA centers that are permanent, we also were selected as everything was ramping down to change our mission, to continue to operate and just change our mission to now making outgoing calls and contacting people who were still in need of housing and trying to place them in temporary housing. So I was really proud that even after a couple weeks of really difficult times, we got to a point where we were recognized for being highly efficient, really productive, getting stuff done. And we started just really saying, what do we need to do to meet the mission? What do we need to do to make sure survivors have what they need and can get back on their feet? And we put in all the things that would make that possible. And every question was, how do we do this so that survivors have what they need and can get back on their feet? And that's how we managed from then on. It was a total partnership between me and the temp agency on-site leader, and that's how we made it work. That was way different than we started out, where it was, you have to do this. You only have 15 minutes for break. You have to go do it. Like a very rigid, very angry manager style to a more visionary approach. Complete turnaround in a matter of weeks. So it's possible with any team, no matter how concerned you are about the level of experience or having worked with people before. Every team is capable of doing this. You may lose people along the way. You may switch people around. But teams are completely capable of functioning at the highest levels within this model. So I wanted to kind of wrap this up with a quick story. And whenever I think of inspirational leaders, I think of one of my bosses from FEMA. We'll call him Doug because that's his name. He had a vision for where our program, our mapping program, was going to go and was going to change. And I heard it over and over. But every time he started to talk about it, and this is what ultimately became the risk map program, like he just kind of sat down and listened because it was such a dramatic change from how FEMA had done business in the mapping world, which again, FEMA's going through this right now. Again, it was total like complete shift, right? But at that time, the vision he had was so different and so much more collaborative with communities and giving them what they wanted and making real impact and making sure that we're not just making maps to make maps, that we're making maps to have results. That sounds like a no-brainer too, right? But we had never looked at it with that end goal in mind in the same way. We were making maps for the insurance program up until then, this became making maps to drive action. And it honestly, like, if Doug would have asked me to do anything, "Do you need a spreadsheet and you need me to write a white paper? Do you want me to, like, mop the floor right now?" Well, I knew that it would ultimately contribute to that goal, and I wanted to be a part of it. No matter how small or big the task, it really felt like if I'm doing something that Doug wants me to do, it's to contribute to this big vision. And I want to be a part of that. And there are a lot of us who just really enjoyed being a part of that. And like, whether it's rewriting all of the guidance and creating silly plans of how we're going to go from like stacks of paper to this cool, people might disagree with me now, but at the time it sounded cool, set of standards and guidance and things like that. That sounds boring, doesn't it? Like, I led a team that transformed stacks of paper guidance into all these cool digital, like, separated standards and guidance, and but it was amazing at the time. It made things better for the program. It got people safer, and that's all that mattered. Um, because I had this leader who painted this picture, and I was able to relate everything I did, even if it's just guidance and standards, into how that made people more resilient, how that made people safer. And it was a really strong motivator. And we did a lot at FEMA that I can't even tell you how proud I am of all the work we did then and everything that continues to happen there. Okay, that's it. But Doug's one of the guys that I think of frequently when I'm thinking about inspirational leaders in my life, because that might have been one of the first times someone else painted such a clear vision for what they wanted this huge change and huge transformation to be, that it was like, I'll do whatever you want. Just tell me. And I think this was true for a lot of the contractors too, like of FEMA staff and our contractors. It was contagious. Like, you're like, yeah, I want to make that happen. I want to be a part of that. So that's what I want to help people become. I want to help you be that inspirational leader that people flock to, that people will, like, mop a floor or make a spreadsheet, whatever it takes. I'm in. That's where you get to. And if you have that kind of power that we only use for good purposes in bringing people together and getting people to do things, how can you not get noticed? How can you not get promoted? How can you not get recognized? And how can you not make a bigger impact on the world around you? So I do know that I get excited about this. And sometimes I know there are a lot of things that go through your head when you listen to me or when you read about some of these things of like, man, I'm really technical. I'm a total technical nerd. I lead in a totally different way. I'm not good at the soft skills it takes to inspire others. I don't know if this is for me. I'm here to tell you that's totally wrong. Just talk to you about Doug. Doug is an engineer's engineer. He is wicked smart. He is super technical. And he's got a little bit of the engineer dork in him, like all but engineer humor, right? But he just had a way of setting the vision. And it didn't matter if he was the big orator. He wasn't. He was subtle. He was laid back when he would talk about this. He would just literally sit back and be like, what if we did this? And kind of paint the picture. You don't need to be on a huge stage, which he was sometimes. But you don't need to be on a huge stage. You don't need to be like bigger than life to have those skills and that ability to motivate and lead. It's not beyond you because you're technical. I'm a technical nerd too. You don't want me get me going on flooding and my village board because then our meetings go until 1 a.m. I think one of the other things a lot of people, when they listen to me or others talk about inspirational leadership, you think about your team, right? And just as I was talking about making your team cohesive and productive, sometimes teams feel resistant to being led. And I'm here to tell you it's not true. Just like with the Katrina call center, you can build a team. Individuals may be resistant to being led, and maybe they're not a good fit for what you're doing then. But the team can be led. They want to be led. Teams thrive when they are led in a strong, efficient way, especially when there's a vision that they're going towards together. Um, I'd have to dig up the stats, but there's some great studies done by Wiley Publishing that they talked a lot of different industries and businesses, and people always said that what motivated them the most was their leadership. What drove them away was the lack of leadership. So any team can be led. And the last thing that I know is so hard for everybody right now. I get it. I hear you completely, and I feel this myself. There's just not time. There is no time in the world for me to do anything. I'm not asking you for a lot of time. I totally heard you all say that when I'm talking about my other coaching programs, like the Inspirational Leader Accelerator. That one is a bit of a commitment. It's spending some time on yourself, which also makes people uncomfortable sometimes, which is very much why I created the Leadership Boost, so that there is a short, quick version that you can at least get enough to get going on and start making some changes and start putting you on that path to inspirational leadership. It's clearly not going to do everything that my coaching programs do, but it's going to get you started. That's what I really want to be able to do for people is, get you pushed in the right direction, get you moving, and then you can figure out from there where you go. If you want to continue, if you want to work with me or not, I'm going to keep producing content. I'm going to keep making workshops and doing things to help you. So maybe just like to, get little hits along the way. Great. Trying to make it so what I do is super accessible, whether it be short pieces or that really, like in, just lost the word, but a really intensive dive into it for you. Not time intensive necessarily, but that working one-on-one, full commitment and attention from me that comes with coaching. So if you watch all this, good job. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what is clicking with you. And let me know if you have any questions. You can hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you may be wondering about. And while we do have a lot of time constraints, if you've been thinking about leadership coaching and you want to work with me, set up a call. All you got to do is click the link on Calendly, find some time on my calendar, and we can talk about what you want to accomplish as a leader and how I can help you get there. So that's all I have for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will be back Thursday. Take care. Bye.